aiming to dupe their results. Shares of Nike, the biggest gainer in the Dow so far this year, surging another 9% today after a blowout earnings report. That helped lift the Dow to a 113-point gain, but a late-day sell-off in biotech stocks slamming the Nasdaq. It was down 48. The markets got an early boost after Fed Chair Janet Yellen made it clear to traders that the central bank will likely raise rates before the end of this year, erasing a lot of Wall Street uncertainty and lifting bank stocks. Also helping, a better-than-forecast final read on economic growth in the second quarter, up 3.9%. And at the White House today, President Obama and his Chinese counterpart, President Xi Jinping, agreed to stop cyber spying on each other. I'm Tom Busby, CNBC Radio.
Meet Vince. Vince hurt himself mountain biking on Saturday.
Because weekend warrior.
Because noob.
Hey.
Vince is supposed to host an important presentation, but he's not going anywhere in that cast. What should he do?
Rhetorical question.
Vince should try GoToMeeting, the simple way to host meetings online, complete with video conferencing and screen sharing. Send out a meeting link and anyone can join from any computer, tablet, or smartphone. Just takes a click.
Where do I sign up?
Visit GoToMeeting.com to start your free 30-day trial. That's GoToMeeting.com.
There are no guarantees in love, but there is a guarantee from EH Plus by eHarmony, our new personal matchmaking service. At EH Plus, your own personal matchmaker gets to know you so well, we can guarantee introductions that will be satisfying and exciting. EH Plus goes far beyond regular online dating sites, and that's a guarantee. Visit us at ehplus.com/love or call 1-855-930-LOVE.
This is KCAA.
Slam the door on FeePay. Forget everything you know about selling online because I'm here to tell you about a new and revolutionary way to buy and sell on the internet. BuySellMakeOffer.com is here to shake up the web. Tired of paying those outrageous fees? You'll never pay a fee with BuySellMakeOffer.com. For a monthly membership package starting at only $7.95, you can list and sell up to 50 items. That would cost you nearly $100 with the other guys. Go right now to BuySellMakeOffer.com and sign up today.
Leading with over 5 million searches, it's officially fall.
Oh, yeah.
Not due to football season, although that's a good guess. The autumnal equinox took place this week. This astronomical event occurs when the plane of the Earth's equator directly aligns with the center of the sun. Daylight periods will gradually lessen and nightfall will occur earlier. Also trending with over 1 million searches, the season premiere of the Fox hit series Empire had over 16.2 million viewers and became an instant trending topic on social media. And Apple released the second beta version of iOS 9.1 after fixing a few bugs. And get this, the iOS 9.1 update has new emojis, including a taco, burrito, unicorn, and middle finger. This had over 20,000 searches. I'm Successful Brim with what's trending this week on KCAA 1050 AM, the station that leaves no listener behind.
Hey, buddy, I heard the drought's moving in, muscling in on your turf. To make matters worse, the man keeps telling you to limit your spigot. That drought is bad news, no fooling. But me and my boys can help. The Water Boys, on the Water Zone, Thursday nights at 6. We'll help you protect your turf and save water. And hey, don't worry about it. Consider it a gift.
Yeah, Louie, you heard the boss. We gotta listen in at 6 p.m. on Thursday nights.
Okay, Vinny, you got it. The Water Zone, Thursday nights at 6 p.m. I'll tell our lawn it's now protected.
The Water Zone on KCAA 1050 AM.
Hi, I'm John Elway. Did you know that John Elway's Crown Toyota is the largest volume Toyota dealer in the Inland Empire? Here to give you the details is the General Sales Manager, Kara Brindley.
Well, at John Elway's Crown Toyota, we listen to you. And ever since we've changed to our new process, we post our one price, which is our best price, up front on every single vehicle. Now, customers are telling me they look forward to buying their next car from us.
So come visit John Elway's Crown Toyota today in the Giant Ontario Auto Center where the 10 and 15 meet.
One price, simple, no games.
Psst. Hey, you. Yeah, you. Do you know where you are? Well, you've done it now. You're listening to KCAA Loma Linda, your CNBC news station. So expect the unexpected.
Open Season on KCAA. Open Season with Larry Burnett, Fred Wallen, and Mark Mancini. 3 sports guys dropping gloves, tackling issues, and swinging for the fences. Now, here's your host, Larry Burnett.
All right, and you can expect the unexpected on Open Season every Friday night here on KCAA. That's what we're after. Welcome, everybody, to Open Season. This is where we talk sports the way real people talk sports. And tonight we're talking sports with Dodgers legend Vin Scully. Tom Hoffarth, the media columnist for the LA Daily News and the San Bernardino Sun newspapers, will also be with us. Our phone number, 888-909-1050. Keep that number handy because we're going to be giving away some Lakers tickets throughout the hour, 888-909-1050. We got Mark Mad Mancini with us once again this week and Fred Wallen with us as well. Open Season being brought to you by John Elway's Crown Toyota in Ontario. And they've got a comprehensive selection of cars, trucks, and SUVs, and their service department, well, it is just simply second to none. So stop by and say hello to our friends at John Elway's Crown Toyota. They are ready to help you at 1201 Kettering Drive in Ontario. Tell them you heard all about them on Open Season. As I mentioned, our special guest tonight, Vin Scully, a 2-part interview for you tonight. Vin talks with me about his early career, about his greatest Dodgers moment, his voice, and yes, even his eventual retirement.
Up until about a year ago, I wondered, what would I do? I mean, I'm so accustomed. I've been working since I was 11 years old. So what would I do if I'm not working? I don't feel that way anymore.
We'll find out a lot about Vin Scully as this hour continues. Time for the topics now. Let's get the teletype topics up for the week, and we'll fire up the word machine. Joey Pags is on the keyboards once again. Joe Pagano. Let's start things off right here in the NFL. That's right, a giant step for the New Yorkers last night. We'll talk all about it. But a bad weather report for New Orleans. No breeze at all on Sunday. And still, no gain for DeMarco Murray and the Eagles. On the college grid, UCLA doesn't know jack as they head Arizona bound, and USC goes to the Devils at Arizona State. The Clippers open training camp and brush up on their Chinese, while the Lakers do the hula and do their part for world peace. In golf, Jason and Jordan both swinging for number 1 in Atlanta. The Dodgers' magic number is down to 3. The Angels, they're just staying alive in the wild card race. And Pete Rose chats with the commish. On a bet he's not coming back to baseball? TV or not TV, the Dodgers still putting fannies in the seats. Those are just some of the stories making headlines on KCAA during the week, where our motto is, if it's news in the sports world, it's news to us. All right, let's roll along here. Let's start off with college football, guys. Fred Wallen, Mark Mancini with me, and the number 9 ranked UCLA Bruins at number 16 Arizona. Good matchup of ranked teams. Of course, UCLA has won all 3 against Arizona under Jim Mora, but they're going in without Miles Jack. They're going in without Fabian Moreau. They do get Ishmael Adams back from suspension, but Fred Wallen, what are you thinking about this game down in the desert?
UCLA is actually a 4-point favorite. It's a game that you really can't pick. I think it's going to be very, very close. National TV, 5 o'clock on Saturday. Obviously, Josh Rosen has to play better than he played last week. He did not play well against BYU. BYU is probably better than Arizona. Arizona really hasn't beaten anybody. The Bruins have played a little tougher schedule. So you might slightly lean to UCLA, but I would never give the 4 points in a situation like this. And you mentioned the loss on the defense. Three guys gone. It makes a tremendous difference. And Miles Jack is more than a defensive guy. You know, when they get to the 2 or 3 yard line, they've given him the ball. He scored touchdowns. So, I mean, it's he's as strong as an ox, and he's probably gone from UCLA. He's going to probably go to the pros, even though he's going to miss all of his season. And should be a great game, 5 o'clock, ABC television on Saturday.
Looking forward to it, and it should be a good battle of running backs in this one as well, with Paul Perkins going for the Bruins and Nick Wilson going for Arizona. Mark Mancini, jump in here. What are you thinking about that UCLA game tomorrow?
Well, I think Fred broke it down perfect. It's a hard game to pick. I mean, UCLA's walking wounded. They're depleted on the defense side, and I mean, it's always tough to go to that desert and try to win a game. And like you said, Arizona really hasn't played anybody either, but it can go either way. I'm going to pick the Bruins in this one. A real close game, maybe a 17-16, 20-17 game. I like the Bruins.
And then after this game, it'll be the Bruins taking on Arizona State. Then they've at Stanford, and then they've got Cal. All right, number 19, USC. They dropped as well they should. Mancini, you said last week that the season would start for USC when they played Stanford, and it not only started, but it came to a pretty quick halt in that game. Good call.
Well, and you know, you look at this USC thing. I call it the most overrated in college right now. I look at it. Everybody's deferring the blame. Now we got a defensive coordinator that's completely getting thrown under the bus, and the wheels have gone on top of him. Somebody's going to get fired tomorrow. I don't know if it's on what tarmac they're going to get fired, whether it's Phoenix or L.A. But if they lose that game tomorrow, they'll be 2-2, 0-2 in the conference. And that's when USC usually nails in the season. They UPS it. So I don't count anything on in this game tomorrow. Arizona State, you saw what they did last year to them. Be careful.
Yeah, well, the Hail Mary last year. Did I hear you right? Did you say somebody's getting fired from one of these teams after tomorrow's game?
I think if USC loses tomorrow, somebody can get fired on some tarmac, whether it's in Phoenix or whether it's in L.A. They're deferring the blame all over the place, but you got to look at the head coach. The head coach really is a 7-6 guy. He hasn't done anything. It's been all hype since the season started. We talked about Idaho. We talked about Arkansas State. Let's face it, that's not when the season starts. It started last week. They couldn't stop Hogan. Stanford exposed them, and now the expose is for other teams to cash in on it if they can.
By the way, you talk about the tarmac firing. Lane Kiffin making news once again, and a lot of it is speculation coming out of Tuscaloosa, and I'm not going to get into all of the rumors that are going around, but this guy is making noise once again down in Alabama, much as he did in several of his other stops earlier. Fred Wallen, what are you picking college football-wise this weekend?
You know, there's a game that starts at 7 o'clock tonight on Fox Sports 1 in the Pac-12 as Stanford goes to Oregon State in Corvallis. Open 17.5. It's down to 14.5 or 15 now. Hogan, it may not be 100%.
Right.
Stanford cannot possibly be as high as they were last week against USC. Oregon State is better than people think. Again, that Michigan game was 10-7 with a few seconds to go before half. Bad snap from center, ends up 17-7 and then 35-7. So people are looking at that game and saying the Beavers are bad. They're not that bad, and I think I'd have to take the 2.5 touchdowns, and so I got in earlier in the week at 17. But right now you'd have 14.5 or 15. Games on Fox Sports 1 at 7 o'clock as soon as we get off. I think it's an interesting game in the Pac-12.
If Hogan can't go, they've got no experience whatsoever
Nothing.
behind him. How does that change things?
Well, to change it, you're on the road, and a young quarterback on the road is always going to be a problem. There's no question about that. Stanford played out of its mind in the second half against USC. I just can't see them being as high for an Oregon State club. And, you know, it's just common sense would say that. So I think you got to take the points and the Beavers at home.
Huge games tomorrow. Number 1, Ohio State and Western Michigan. Oh, boy. Number 2, Michigan State hosts Central Michigan. But a nice battle of ranked teams with number 18, Utah, at number 13, Oregon. Are we still worried about Vernon Adams' finger these days?
100% we're worried about Vernon Adams' finger. Utah's better than people think. I think they might have the best coach in the conference, so I'm passing that game. But the one game I do want to talk about, 9 o'clock our time tomorrow, BYU at Michigan. Michigan is not that good, as we saw in the first week, and BYU's a lot better than people think, and they should have probably beaten UCLA last week. BYU's getting 6 points on the road. I'm taking the Cougars and their freshman 22-year-old quarterback.
All right, we'll get around to the NFL in just a little bit. Not only does Fred give you the picks, but he also gives you the TV guide version of when these shows are on, and you can catch them all the time. Coming up, we are going to talk with the one and only Vin Scully. We'll have part 1 of my interview with the legendary Dodger announcement. Vin is a guy who, for so many years, continues to talk a very fine line on radio and television.
Television is a director's and producer's medium, not the announcer. Radio, it's the announcer, but not television.
Hi, I'm John Elway. Did you know that John Elway's Crown Toyota is the largest volume Toyota dealer in the Inland Empire? Here to give you the details is the General Sales Manager, Kara Brindley.
Well, at John Elway's Crown Toyota, we listen to you. And ever since we've changed to our new process, we post our one price, which is our best price, up front on every single vehicle. Now, customers are telling me they look forward to buying their next car from us.
So come visit John Elway's Crown Toyota today in the Giant Ontario Auto Center where the 10 and 15 meet.
One price, simple, no games.
Ever wonder how celebrities get their skin red carpet ready? Look no further than the Fire and Ice Facial from Is Clinical, available at Nina MD Beverly Hills. The Fire and Ice Facial is an amazing clinical treatment designed to rapidly and safely regenerate the skin, reducing fine lines and wrinkles for an envious glow, while smoothing and softening to achieve that ageless face. Excellent for all skin types and ages, Is Clinical's Fire and Ice Facial is a celebrity favorite and provides dramatic results with no downtime, peeling, or side effects. The Fire and Ice Facial is normally $215, but call 310-777-7511 now. Mention this ad and pay only $179. That's over $35 in savings just by mentioning this ad. Don't miss out on glowing and radiant skin from Is Clinical and Nina MD Beverly Hills. For more info, visit ninamd.com or call 310-777-7511. That's 310-777-7511. Ever wonder how celebrities get their skin red carpet ready? Look no further than the Fire and Ice Facial from Is Clinical, available at Nina MD Beverly Hills. The Fire and Ice Facial is an amazing clinical treatment designed to rapidly and safely regenerate the skin, reducing fine lines and wrinkles for an envious glow, while smoothing and softening to achieve that ageless face. Excellent for all skin types and ages, Is Clinical's Fire and Ice Facial is a celebrity favorite and provides dramatic results with no downtime, peeling, or side effects. The Fire and Ice Facial is normally $215, but call 310-777-7511 now. Mention this ad and pay only $179. That's over $35 in savings just by mentioning this ad. Don't miss out on glowing and radiant skin from Is Clinical and Nina MD Beverly Hills. For more info, visit ninamd.com or call 310-777-7511. That's 310-777-7511.
Kcaa.
Welcome back to Open Season on KCAA AM. Happy to be at Dodger Stadium now with Vin Scully, the legendary voice of the Dodgers. I was thinking back to your earlier days in New York. What was it that triggered your interest in broadcasting, and what made you think you'd be good at it?
Well, I don't know if I ever thought I'd be good at it, but I do remember when I was about 8 years old, and I've told this story before because it's true. We had a big four-legged radio in the living room, and at about 8 years old, I used to get a pillow and maybe some crackers and a glass of milk, and I would crawl underneath that radio. And I would listen to some football game because in those days, really those were the only games that were on radio, college football. And I would curl up underneath there, and I might listen to a game that had nothing to do with me. It could be Mississippi and Alabama. But the roar of the crowd is what absolutely enthralled me, and that was the beginning of my desire to be where the crowd was and eventually to be the announcer doing the ball game. I don't think I ever felt at home for a good 4 or 5 years doing Major League Baseball because in New York I was surrounded by so many wonderful announcers that it was pretty easy to be humble. Only after a while, after I survived and thought that I could have a career, I then relaxed.
When you look back, if you hadn't become a sports broadcaster, what might you have become?
Well, I remember when I was in high school, I wrote a sports column for the newspaper, and I also wrote one when I was in college. And the column that I wrote in college, before me, there were writers like John Kieran and Arthur Daly. They were magnificent writers, so I was trying to be in their footsteps. And I went away in the Navy for a year, and when I came back, Fordham, the university where I was attending, had an FM station. And all of a sudden, I had a chance to do the two things that I wanted to do. I could write and I could go on the radio. So I was very fortunate the pieces fell into place.
I think it's interesting that when you really got going in professional broadcasting, it was college football, first of all. And didn't you end up doing a game on the roof of Fenway Park?
Yes, I was hired by CBS. The announcers who were supposed to do it fell ill, and they sent me up there, and I was on a rooftop. There was no booth. There was nothing except a poor engineer freezing and a card table, and I had left a hat and jacket in the hotel because there was a dance where my school was playing at Boston at the same day, and I did the BU Maryland game, and it turned out to be a terrific game, and almost an upset. Maryland became the national champions the following year, and BU just missed beating them that day. So I got a great deal of national exposure that afternoon.
I have it on pretty good authority that prior to most games, you'll step out of the booth and take out your phone and make a phone call. Could you tell me what that's about?
Maybe you mean I'm talking to my wife.
That's what I was talking
Yeah, I always go to the far end of the press box when it's not being used. There's a very small room, booth, and I always sit there and call in because I leave home about 2:15 in the afternoon. So before the game starts at 7, I like to find some time to go back and check and see how everything is going. So it's a ritual without a doubt.
So you give Sandy a call before every game if you can?
Yes, absolutely. Every game, yeah.
People ask me a lot of times about the business. And one thing I tell them is, if you don't have a woman in your life who understands what you do and the passion you have for your job, you're in big trouble.
It's a very, very difficult job on a marriage for anyone who has to travel as much as I used to travel. I've just about weeded that out now. But yeah, for you're gone, your wife is alone raising the children, the washing machine breaks down, all of the various things that happen, and invariably you're on the road somewhere, and she's left with her imagination while she's having problems wondering just what in the heck you're doing in Chicago, New York, whatever. It takes a woman with a great heart and a good mind, plus patience and all of the other things that go with it. Yeah, it's difficult. The young ball players, they're at that age early where the marriage has just started, and it can be very difficult.
Well, and you talk about the time traveling and at the ballpark. That's not even including the preparation time. And in my mind, that's the most important part of the job. Doing the games is the easy part. It's the preparation and getting yourself ready, and that takes a lot of time too.
Yeah, I don't mind. In fact, I welcome the preparation on the road because it killed a lot of time in the hotel room. Preparation at home is difficult because when you are home, you're not the broadcaster, you're the father and the husband. You have other things to do besides preparing for the game. So, yeah, it's difficult at home and a lot easier and more welcome on the road.
How has the preparation for you changed over the years? Obviously, technology is a part of it now.
Yes, indeed, and because of that, there's so much information. In the old days, the ball clubs did not provide any information. You didn't have press guides. You didn't have all the notes. You didn't have all the computerized paper that you receive before every game. Of course, it can be a danger as well because you can be caught looking at your notes and miss a play on the field, which, of course, is a mortal sin. So, all in all, it helps you. But it's like the sirens and the song of the Lorelei. It'll lure you on the rocks unless you're very careful.
The great Vin Scully, when he talks about the old days, he's talking about 1950. That's when he started, and Vin will be 88 years old on November 29th. Fred, thoughts on Vin Scully? We got another part of his interview coming up in just a little bit.
To me, the best, maybe the best all-around broadcaster I've ever heard. People don't remember. He used to do game shows, too. He did football on television. He did everything. But as a baseball announcer, there can be no... Vin Scully's the best. And I used to like Mel Allen. Al Michaels, tremendous. But Vin Scully just has something special that nobody can replace. And the guy that does replace him has got a major, major problem because his name is not going to be Vin Scully.
And we'll talk about that with Tom Hofarth when he joins us later about some possible replacements, and also the fact that a lot of Dodger fans don't get to see or hear Vin Scully because of the whole mix-up with Time Warner Cable. Mark Mancini, quick thought on Vin Scully? Did we lose Mark? All right, we'll head towards a break here then. Open Season is brought to you by John Elway's Crown Toyota on Kettering Drive in Ontario. Coming up, we'll have more of my interview with Vin Scully. You'll hear Vin's favorite Dodger moment and find out what it's like to ad-lib for hours on end in a politically correct society.
When you have a microphone in front of you for 3 hours, you are doing a high wire act over a chasm, for sure.
Hi, I'm John Elway. Did you know that John Elway's Crown Toyota is the largest volume Toyota dealer in the Inland Empire? Here to give you the details is the General Sales Manager, Kara Brindley.
Well, at John Elway's Crown Toyota, we listen to you. And ever since we've changed to our new process, we post our one price, which is our best price, up front on every single vehicle. Now, customers are telling me they look forward to buying their next car from us.
So come visit John Elway's Crown Toyota today in the Giant Ontario Auto Center where the 10 and 15 meet.
One price, simple, no games.
Have you ever gone to use a flashlight and the batteries were dead or the inside of the flashlight corroded, only having to throw it away? Or in a location where you had no way to charge your cell phone or camera? Well, all that has changed. Now there's Hybrid Light. The Hybrid Light brings the best of both worlds together with a strong 160 lumen LED light that lasts 12 hours on a single charge, and after a recharge from any light or power source, you're ready to go again. Hybrid Light lasts 7 long years and is even waterproof and also contains a USB port to plug in your cell phone or camera to give you that special charge when you're not near an outlet. All this for the low price of $39.95 with promo code GARY. Call 1-800-297-8109 to be the first to have this great tool, or go to our website, hybridlight.com. That's 800-297-8109 or hybridlight.com, hybridlight.com, and don't forget to use promo code GARY.
If you're trying to prevent home foreclosure, you need a law firm with extensive experience representing clients in protecting their homes from foreclosure. The Goodman Law Firm is a nationwide team of mortgage mitigation attorneys that provides legal advice and expertise you can trust. Our nationwide network includes local of-counsel foreclosure attorneys to represent you during the mortgage mitigation process. The Goodman firm has represented homeowners across the nation in resolving their troubled mortgages. We have the experience and the knowledge you can count on to best represent your interests. The banks have attorneys fighting to protect their interests, and so should you. Call the Goodman Law Firm at 888-800-6030. Take control of your mortgage situation today. Contact us at 888-800-6030 or through our website at arnoldgoodmanlaw.com.
You're listening to KCAA, your good neighbor along the way.
Welcome back to Fun and Open. Larry with you on a Friday night along with Fred Wallen and Mark Mancini, and continuing my interview with Vin Scully, the legendary broadcaster for the Dodgers. Our phone number is 888-909-1050 if you'd like to call in. And we have a pair of Dodger tickets, I should say Lakers tickets, that we would like to give away to the first caller tonight. These are tickets for the preseason game against Toronto that's being played in Ontario on October 8th at Citizens Bank Arena. So the number is 888-909-1050. First caller gets a pair of tickets to the preseason game for the Lakers and Ontario. Fred was talking about Vin Scully. He did game shows. He did one called It Takes Two. You can actually go on YouTube and take a look at it. They asked him to do Monday Night Football. And if you've ever watched The X-Files, the woman on there, Dana Scully, that was a tribute. The Scully name was a tribute because the producer was a big fan of Vin Scully. And we know him, of course, as the announcer for the Dodgers. And in so many ways, he is much, much more than just the voice of the Dodgers. You got the whole mellifluous tone thing. Everybody talks about your great voice. Do you like your voice?
I really don't think about it. I've been doing it so long. I thank God that I can still operate, of course. But no, I'm not enthralled, or I don't listen to old tapes or anything like that. No.
What about going back and critiquing yourself? I remember talking with Chick Hearn, who I worked with for many years, and I said, when you're done with a game, if you do it 99.9% great, do you emphasize that on the drive home, or do you beat yourself up over the 0.1% that maybe didn't go exactly the way you wanted to?
I don't say I would beat myself up, but I would criticize. And often on the long drive home thinking, gosh, I wish I had said, or I'm sorry I said. Right. Oh, sure. When you have a microphone in front of you for 3 hours, you are doing a high wire act over a chasm, for sure. One mistake, and it could haunt you. You could actually say something that would damage your career. But after you've been in it 1,000 years, you don't think about that. You just think about, am I happy with what I did, or gosh, I wish I had done better.
Interesting, because we become so politically correct now. And the more you talk, the more the percentages go up that you're going to say something that's going to irritate somebody. And yet, over the years, I don't remember any major blow-ups about anything that you've said. Has anything blown up for you?
What's the date? I mean, every day you go on the air hoping that you avoid a bullet. I can't think of any. I try not to get involved in things where my opinion is suddenly caught up in the action. I've always tried to stay away from that as best as possible. Other fellows are very good at it. I mean, they'll challenge authority, they'll challenge plays. That's not my nature. I just try to move on,
Talking with Vin Scully here at Dodger Stadium, what's the greatest highlight or event that you've seen out of this booth?
Well, I'd probably have to go back to Brooklyn. I was younger, more passionate, and more impressionable. And when the Dodgers won the World Series in 1955, and I happened to be on the air working with the great Mel Allen, and I was on the last half, and I was able to say, ladies and gentlemen, the Brooklyn Dodgers are the champions of the world. And that was a first and last. It was the only one they ever won, and of course they moved away a couple of years later. That was probably the biggest, because I really felt for the players. I sensed and knew their frustrations. They had lost so many times before, and when they finally did win, it really struck me emotionally. So that's probably number one.
I want to harken back to Chick Hearn once again, because when I talked to Chick, he said when the Lakers moved out here that they used to get guys on the back of trucks with megaphones just to try to get people to come to the games, because they just really didn't follow basketball that much. What was it like when the Dodgers came out here?
Oh, no, on the contrary. When the Dodgers came out, there was a parade. The mayor and all the city council was involved. No, it was a big deal. And as it turned out, it was a heartbreak for the good people in Brooklyn, and luckily the Mets are now there to give them all the thrills they need. But no, out here it was a big deal, the Dodgers coming to Los Angeles.
We talked many years ago, and I asked you about the difference between calling baseball on radio and TV, and you were telling me about a canvas and how you approached the canvas. Can you relate that to the audience?
Well, basically, when you're doing radio, you walk into the booth, you go on the air, and you have all your brushes for your broad strokes and your fine strokes, and there's an imaginary canvas, and you're trying to paint a picture. You might be talking about the pitcher mopping his brow and drying off his hand on his pants. You're describing everything, and at the end of the game, you get up and say, well, that's the canvas. That's the best shot I have for today. Television, you walk in, the canvas is already there. The picture is already there. So what you're really doing on television, number one, television is a director's and producer's medium, not the announcer. Radio, it's the announcer, but not television. So with me, I try as hard as humanly possible to watch and look at the picture that I've been given, to comment on that picture and only that picture. So they really control me as opposed to my freedom on radio.
There are very few. I can't think of anybody who goes solo in the booth the way you do anymore. Was that by choice on your side?
Well, it goes all the way back. It has nothing to do with ego. It goes all the way back to Red Barber. When I started, Red was the boss, and Red felt one man, one voice. We never had a lot of conversation on the air, ever. It was just one man. And basically his idea, which I think is a very good one, you're trying to sell people to come to the ballpark. So I'll put it to you this way. If I want to sell you a car, is it better for me to talk directly to you about the merits of the car, or do I talk to somebody else about how good the car is and you listen to that conversation? Red always felt the one-on-one situation is what sold the car. So we just kept that going for all these years. It's always been one man, one voice. Yeah.
We've agreed to come on for one more year at least, and somewhere down the line is retirement. Are you afraid of retirement, or how do you feel about that inevitability?
I think up until about a year ago, I wondered, what would I do? I mean, I'm so accustomed. I've been working since I was 11 years old. So what would I do if I'm not working? I don't feel that way anymore. This year, I am looking forward to next year and calling it a career. I feel very comfortable with that. I no longer have the fear of what am I going to do at home. Believe me, I'll find something I want to do. So no, I'm very much at peace right now. Last year, God willing, I mean, we're talking about next year like it's a cinch. But if it comes about, I will be so thrilled and so happy, and I will fold my tent and quietly sneak away.
I have one final question for you. When it's all said and done, and I mean when it's all said and done, how does Vin Scully want to be remembered?
As a good man. Never mind my broadcasting ability. I'm sure there are just as many people who are not particularly happy with it. I don't really care. But if I want to be remembered, I'd like to be remembered as a good man, a good husband, a good father, good grandfather. And that'll do it for me.
Thanks so much for the time. I greatly appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure.
No, it was my pleasure, and thanks to Steve Brenner with the Dodgers for helping us set up that interview, and for the broadcasting crew at Dodger Stadium that was so helpful while we were there. Mark Mancini, if you're with us right now, chime in with some thoughts on Vin Scully.
Well, like I said before, I mean, just the way you presented it and everything, it's just amazing. But tell me another city like Los Angeles where we've been blessed with Chick Hearn, Vin Scully, and Bob Miller. There's no other city with these three guys in it. It's just simply amazing that, I mean, L.A. is put on the map with these three great individuals over the years.
Yeah, it is pretty amazing. And when you think he's going to be 88 years old in November, Fred Wallen, I hope I can pull on my pants when I'm 88 years old, let alone go out and do 9 innings of baseball.
Let's not forget Dick Enberg. Certainly,
that's true. And by the way, he said next year is his last year with the Padres
at the age of 80. So I mean, he did some great work for UCLA. Those UCLA tape delayed basketball games are things that I'll never forget as long as I live. You know, the one negative about Vin Scully, and a lot of people don't know this, and I hate to say this right here, right now, but he's growing up. He was a Giants fan. Now, I mean, you can't be worse off than that. I'm sorry. I mean, you're a Giants fan.
But he converted. He saw the light. Hey, while we've got a minute here before we bring Tom Hofarth in to talk about possible replacements for Vin once he's retired after next year, quick thoughts about Yogi Berra. I was never a Yankee fan. I never will be a Yankee fan. But I couldn't help liking Yogi Berra because he was like the everyman. And he put on the gear, and he played in the dirt, and he swung at bad pitches, but he had great success, and he just seemed like a guy who enjoyed the game tremendously.
And you won't find many people that disliked him, and I think that's your point.
Right.
He was just a well-liked individual. He got along with everybody, except Stan Musial at the end, but best friends of Joe Graziola, a great catcher. And also, people don't know this, in 1961, the year that Maris, of course, did his thing, Yogi Berra played more left field for the Yankees than any other Yankee player. So he also played the outfield, played, I think, a little first base, and of course he was a fine catcher. Then Elston Howard came, and he was willing to move and share time. So a tremendous loss.
And you know, they used to play Elston Howard out in left field from time to time too.
Yeah,
so that's a kind of a history of moving catchers around and putting the best players on the field.
Yes.
Mark Mancini, Yogi Berra.
Well, I'll tell you, the Yogiisms were the best. I mean, just, That's part of baseball now and part of baseball then. And I'll tell you, it's amazing, when you look at these guys that, they move on, it leaves a lot of great memories to be cherished with and pass on to grandkids and everything like that.
Well, the Yogiisms are just great, and I just saw a couple yesterday that I hadn't seen before. One was, it's not the heat, it's the humility. The other one, nobody goes there anymore, it's too crowded. And the one I had never heard before, apparently there were streakers at a Yankee game, and Yogi said, I couldn't tell if they were men or women. They had bags on their head. So, rest in peace, Yogi Berra. Up next, media columnist Tom Hofarth is going to join Open Season. He's a good guy, and he's going to talk about Vin Scully and what might be ahead for the Dodgers radio and TV future. So stick with us for that. Open Season being brought to you by John Elway's Crown Toyota on Ketterling Drive in Ontario. We're back in a moment.
Hi, I'm John Elway. Did you know that John Elway's Crown Toyota is the largest volume Toyota dealer in the Inland Empire? Here to give you the details is the General Sales Manager, Kara Brindley.
Well, John Elway's Crown Toyota, we listen to you. And ever since we've changed to our new process, we post our one price, which is our best price, up front on every single vehicle. Now, customers are telling me they look forward to buying their next car from us.
So come visit John Elway's Crown Toyota today in the Giant Ontario Auto Center where the 10 and 15 meet.
One price, simple, no games.
9MD Beverly Hills provides skincare solutions for patients undergoing cancer treatments. Personalized treatment regimens are initiated to achieve optimum remission states in those dealing with cancer. The IS Clinical Harmony Cancer Care Facial at 9MD Beverly Hills safely offers hope and relief for those challenged with the side effects and repercussions of intense cancer treatments such as radiation and chemotherapy. Rejuvenate, replenish, and soothe your skin. Let our certified technicians at 9MD Beverly Hills safely and effectively heal your skin with our IS Clinical products that are pharmaceutical grade, botanically based, paraben free, and do not enter the bloodstream. Enjoy a day of pampering and revitalize your skin with 9MD Beverly Hills and our IS Clinical Harmony Cancer Care Facial for just $179. Each patient will receive a complimentary gift bag for take-home care. For more information, please call 310-777-7511 or visit us at www.9amd.com. That's www.nainamd.com.
If you're trying to prevent home foreclosure, you need a law firm with extensive experience representing clients in protecting their homes from foreclosure. The Goodman Law Firm is a nationwide team of mortgage mitigation attorneys that provides legal advice and expertise you can trust. Our nationwide network includes local of-counsel foreclosure attorneys to represent you during the mortgage mitigation process. The Goodman firm has represented homeowners across the nation in resolving their troubled mortgages. We have the experience and the knowledge you can count on to best represent your interests. The banks have attorneys fighting to protect their interests, and so should you. Call the Goodman Law Firm at 888-800-6030. Take control of your mortgage situation today. Contact us at 888-800-6030 or through our website at arnoldgoodmanlaw.com.
Kcaa.
All right, we're back again on Kcaa. Thanks for joining us on a Friday night. Our phone number, 888-909-1050. Our first caller gets those Lakers preseason tickets to the game against Toronto on October 8th at Ontario and the Citizens Bank Arena. Joining us right now on the phone is Tom Hofarth. He is the media columnist at the LA Newspaper Group, and that, of course, includes the LA Daily News and the San Bernardino Sun. And Tom is joining us now from the Angels game. He's working the Angels game tonight. Thanks for calling in. Appreciate it, Tom.
Hey, sir, can you hear me okay?
I hear you just fine. We've been listening to my interview with Vin Scully and kind of reminiscing and whatever. But let's look ahead, since you're the media columnist and you got your finger on the pulse here. What are you hearing about possible replacements after next season when Vin calls it quits?
Well, first of all, I'm not convinced that he's going to call it quits. I think he's the kind of guy that just wants to get everybody prepared for the inevitable. But I think pretty much if he's feeling the way he's feeling now, and it's this time next August or so, I think he'll say, you know what, let's give it another shot. So that being said, I think the Dodgers do have some, plans in the pipeline. I think that they'll be fine with a setup. First of all, you have to understand that when Vin does a game, he does it by himself, and that's
right.
a setup that nobody else does. So in that regard, there'll be nobody that's just going to be a Vin that just comes in and does a game by himself. I think the Dodgers are set with having a booth that includes no Mark Garciaparra and Oral Hershiser and a play-by-play man. And right now that's Charlie Steiner. And I think if something ever happened to Vin or some sort of emergency, those three would be in the booth doing a game, whether it's home or road. And so I think that they're settled in with that. But obviously when Vin leaves, if Charlie came to do full-time TV, they would leave a booth spot open in the radio booth. So maybe that's the place to sort of bring somebody in who's younger, kind of, a little bit under the radar, give him a chance to breathe a little bit, because nobody wants to be known as the replacement for Vin Scully. But what will also probably happen is a lot of names, big names, will be thrown out. Oh, let's go get Don Orsillo. Let's go get a couple other guys, Rick Waits from Miami. And that's probably, the way a lot of people think. But I don't know if that's really the way the Dodgers want to handle this going forward. So that's kind of a long way to explain it, but I think that's kind of how the Dodgers have been sort of planning for this day for a few years now.
So they may shift things around a little bit, and if there is an opening, maybe bring an outsider in to do the radio.
Yeah, but what they figured out, too, last time they brought in an outsider was Eric Collins, and he lasted maybe 3 or 4 years. But I think what happened was the Dodger fans really didn't take to him much because he didn't have much of a Dodger history with him, to his background. And that was kind of evident. There was a lot of things where references were made to things in the past Dodger history that fans knew about, but maybe Eric didn't know. So I would think that somebody who does come into this role is going to have to be maybe Southern California, born and bred, somebody who knows Dodger history, someone who's probably going to know a lot about social media, who's going to want to be more active in the community. So it's a dynamic that I think they have time to cultivate a little bit and kind of look at who's strong in the minor league system right now. Kind of almost that way, bring up a minor league guy. There's a lot of plenty of good young guys doing minor league baseball in Southern California right now, so I think they have a good crop to choose from. It's whether they want to make a big splash or whether they really want to do it, quote, the Dodger way and sort of, bring them up and shape them that way.
All right, we're talking with Tom Hofarth of the Daily News and the San Bernardino Sun. And keep in mind, Tom, we don't have a lot of time here, but I know Fred Wallen wants to talk to you about the whole Time Warner mess and the fact that people aren't getting to see Vin Scully in his final years. Right, Fred?
Thomas, about 75 to 80% of us are blacked out, unless, of course, you have a way to figure it out electronically, which I actually, through a friend, have. But it makes it's a very difficult situation. And certainly, if this is Vinny's last year, next year, or the year after that, you want the chance to hear Vin Scully. How could the Dodgers have made such a mistake? They obviously, the deal with Time Warner, they got $8.3 billion. Great deal monetarily for the Dodgers. But for the fans in Southern California, we've treated them very kindly since 1958. And I think they're treating us like doo-doo in 2015. I think it's horrible.
Jump in, Tom, and can they fix this?
No, I couldn't agree with you more. I think it's a situation that really is a lot of finger pointing right now. It's a lot of poor foresight on both parties. Time Warner is supposed to be the bad guy in this situation, but it's really the Dodgers. It's their channel. They've encumbered Time Warner Cable to do the deals, and Time Warner Cable hasn't been able to. I mean, and it's because of the backlash of years and years of other companies having to deal with Time Warner in the past and saying, you know what, now it's time for payback. You've hosed us a few times on some deals, now we're going to pay you back. And the Dodger fans, I think by and large, are not coming out. They're not selling out games. And it's been my theory that Don Mattingly might have lost his job already if more people could see the games because they would see him on a nightly basis and see some of the decisions he's made. And it's a horrible situation for Vin, and you hate to use Vin and put him in the middle of this thing. But if he said one thing about this, I think it would be over. If he finally said, you know what, I'm leaving because nobody can see me on the games anymore, I think they get that fixed in a minute. But he's not that kind of person. He's not going to draw attention to himself. So I agree. This whole thing has just been a cluster mess from the start, and it's never been anybody taking ownership of it.
Well, you would think that Vin would be the leverage to push this thing, and particularly if next year is his final year. But what we're seeing in the aftermath of this is because Time Warner can't get the money back that they've already put out, now they're cutting people and personnel and programming surrounding the Dodgers and the Lakers and the Sparks and the Galaxy. So it's having an impact there as well.
Yeah, and it's something you could see coming, and it's something that always happens too when two companies consolidate, with AT&T merging with DirecTV and Time Warner merging with Comcast. People's jobs get cut, programming gets cut, it gets streamlined. And I'm just fortunate I live in an area where I can drop DirecTV and get Time Warner cable, but I know not everybody can, and I know it's a horrible situation, and I just wish that I hope that it gets straightened out by next season. That's what the Dodgers hope too. But then again, the Pac-12 thought that they would get all situated now that AT&T merged with DirecTV, and that didn't happen.
Hey Tom, let me throw something to you. I think in the year 2015, satellite and cable TV, very similar to the electric company and the water company. And if the water company turned off your water for some reason and you had paid your bill, or the electric company, somebody would protect the customer. There's nobody out there protecting us. How come there's nobody out there fighting for us in this situation? Even Mayor Garcetti should say something, certainly about the Dodgers, not as much, about the Pac-12 situation, but certainly the Dodgers. Somebody like that's got to speak up, no?
Well, doesn't it seem like the situation usually is when the fans speak up, then the politicians respond? And I think that happened last year, but I don't see it happening much anymore. I think fans have sort of said, you know what? Well, let's screw it. We're just not going to watch games. Dodgers are out of mind, out of sight. You know what? We'll see them come the playoffs. It'll all be on during the playoffs. For regular season, you know what? We'll go to a few games. We'll save some money, and let's just wait this thing out. I don't know. It's a strategy you sort of have to do based on your person and your livelihood. It's really a life, affecting decision on everybody's part. Some people move so they can get Time Warner cable. Some people,
Well, let's face it. If there had been more of a public outroar, we probably wouldn't have been without football in Los Angeles for 20 years. But people just kind of kicked back after a while and said, okay, this is the way it is. We're not going to put money out. And here we are 20 years later.
We've got enough other things to fill our lives. We don't need this. And, the Dodgers, that was their, their calling card, and we called them on their bluff, I guess.
Well, we have Tom Hofarth to keep us busy with his columns on the Daily News and the San Bernardino Sun and his work with the LA Newspaper Group. Tom, thanks so much for coming on and giving us your insight, and enjoy the Angel game, and we'll talk soon, okay?
Great. It's good to see you the other day at Dodger Stadium, and I know it's been a great interview.
It was fun. It was a treat. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much for coming on.
Good.
Listen, I don't take notes to many interviews. I took notes with me to talk to Vin, and it was like you were getting dressed up for the prom, that kind of a thing. It was a very exciting time, and after a while you get very jaded in this business, but that was a highlight for me. Since we're talking about the Dodgers, Mark Mancini, you still awake over there?
I'm still awake, and I was going to ask him, but I know he's busy too. He's at the Angel game, and the question where I think a lot of Dodger fans really ain't putting light into this thing is Don Mattingly, and I think he's got 1 foot out the door, and I think the other guy that is on the other side of the coin in Anaheim, I think Socha, if the Angels don't make the playoffs, there's going to be changes, and I've said this before, and I'll stick by it, I think Socha's coming into Dodger Stadium to be the next Dodger manager, with Mattingly going to Miami. Your thoughts?
Well, when I look at it, I don't necessarily like the way the Dodgers play. I don't necessarily think they get the best out of their personnel. But when I look at the huge lead they've got in the division and the fact that they've got 2 great pitchers headed towards the playoffs, in my mind, it's kind of hard to fire a guy like that. Fred?
Well, I'm not a Mattingly fan, but this year I'm not as hard on him because I don't think this is a well put together club. They gave up their leadoff man in D. Gordon. They gave up 64 stolen bases. They have no leadoff man. They had a guy leading off in Jock Peterson, who's a very good ball player, but the last place in the lineup he should be is leading off. He's going to strike out 170, 180 times this year. I think 90 games he let off for them. They have limited speed. It's just not a well put together club, and that's on Andrew Friedman and the people upstairs. So, as much as I don't like Don Mattingly as a manager, there are other problems on this club. And I got to tell you something. You get to the playoffs. Well, first of all, probably against the Mets, let's say. If Greinke and Kershaw lose, there's so much pressure on that third and fourth starter, and there's really no way you can count on the third or fourth starter, because obviously Woods
Hello?
Hey, our phone number is 888-909-1050, 888-909-1050, right here. And get Larry back. I think we lost Larry.
Our phone number here is 888-909-1050. And we're going to talk away until we got this thing figured out here.
Should we lose?
I think I hear Fred giggling along the way. By the way, we did have a winner of our Lakers tickets. Jerry in Corona called in, and he gets the 2 tickets to the Lakers preseason game against Toronto October 8th at Citizens Bank Arena in Ontario. And next week on Friday night, we'll have Jerry West as our guest, and we'll have another pair of tickets to give away to that Laker game in Ontario. Fred, you just like went frozen on us there, and now you're back.
It's been happening before. We get to be our age, Larry, as you know. Sometimes you're frozen. I really enjoyed Tom Hofar's column. I'm happy that he was able to give us his speech on things, his pitch on things, because I don't look at. It's Time Warner's fault, obviously. They've made enemies with a lot of the different companies. The Dodgers outbid themselves at $8.3 billion. Perhaps if they only took $6.3 billion, Time Warner would charge 3/4 as much to DirecTV and the other systems, and perhaps some of the other systems would pick it up.
Yeah.
So, but in the end, the fan gets it in the shorts, and nobody seems to care.
It's not good. Mark Mancini, just a couple of minutes left here. Let's talk NFL. What games are you looking at this weekend?
Well, I was fortunate enough to sweep the board last week with the Redskins and Raiders and teams like that. The sure shot this week I'm throwing out there, I like the Lions at home, 0-2, against the 2-0 Broncos Sunday night. I think you're going to find Peyton Manning more on the turf than he is throwing that ball. I like the Lions in this one. And I like the Steelers to take that air attack to St. Louis. And I know Fred's high on Jeff Fisher's defense, but they're going to have a heck of a time trying to keep Roethlisberger from firing his guns to the receivers there in Pittsburgh.
We've got some interesting games. Of course, the Giants beat Washington last night and got their win. Drew Brees out for the Saints this week, so they've got to go with the backup there against Carolina. Atlanta at Dallas, a couple of 2-0 teams, and you're looking no Tony Romo, no Dez Bryant. Jason Witten is a question mark. Fred, what game do you like this week?
I like Arizona a little bit against the 49ers because I think the 49ers are really going to be bad. I know they opened with the win over Minnesota, but last week, the true 49er club came out in full front, and it wasn't good to look at. So I think Arizona will beat them by more than 6.5 points at home, and Arizona's got a lot of ways to score. And Carson Palmer from USC is playing awfully well.
All right. It's going to be an interesting week in the NFL. And by the way, with the new point after touchdown being pushed back, they've now had 9 misses or blocks in the first 30 games. That's more than they had the entire 2015 season when they had just 8. I want to thank Vince Scully for spending time with us on Open Season, and Tom Hofarth from the Daily News and the San Bernardino Sun as well. Open Season being brought to you by John Elway's Crown Toyota in Ontario. Stop by and see him, say hello, and make sure you tell him you heard all about him here on Open Season. Monday, 8 o'clock, it's Controlled Chaos here on KCAA with Gary Garver. I'll be joining him around 8:30 in the morning. We'll talk some sports and all kinds of fun things. And don't forget, next Friday, Lakers legend Jerry West will be our guest here on Open Season. So join us at 6:05 p.m. on Friday, October 2nd. Until then, make sure you just get out there and have a little fun.
Are you having any fun? What you getting out of living? What good is what you've got if you're not having any fun?
You're on board KCAA's Inland Talk Express. KCAA, Loma Linda, 1050 AM, the station that leaves no listener behind.
So, you've moved and you've got a lot of things you don't need anymore. Where are you going to turn? Nope, not them, but a